Hey Sun Space Sun, I'm Daisy Victoria, and today we are going to work on one of my dream dresses that I actually made a long time ago, and now I am remaking it. The dress in question is the dress worn by the two sisters in this portrait. This is the family portrait of John II of Rietberg, painted by Herman Tom Ring in the year 1564. The location of this dress and this painting would be in what I've been calling the Rhineland region. It is in northern Germany, around where the Rhine River is. I very much enjoyed exploring this region of that area in that time period. And yeah, it's one of my dream dresses, so we're gonna remake it. Today I actually chose to stay home from a Yule event, and that is because I'm feeling a little bit peopled out, I guess, just a little bit like energetically a lot's been going on, and I decided that I need a quiet day. One thing I do for quiet and to recenter myself and to get myself feeling good is to work on projects. So I decided today I want to work on a project that I have been putting off for a long time. And I am going to kind of use this as a way to describe more meaningful feelings just through a costuming project. First of all, getting started on this project today, I just have not been motivated. Like, I've been feeling kind of bleh. It's okay to not feel great all the time, and while I acknowledge that, I also acknowledge that I have the power to choose and change how I feel, and I know that the bleh I was feeling could be addressed very easily by getting outside. And you know what helped me get outside? My cat. So today I got up and I took Butterscotch for a walk. She did really well. We walked around the neighborhood and she got lots of treats. She was such a good little girl. And now I'm back and ready to get to work on my project. Let me tell you. So I have this dress. This dress was a dream project that I made how many years ago? More than I'd like it to be. I made it in 2016, I think. No, 2015. I made this dress 8 years ago. It still is a lovely dress. Actually, the color looks better in the camera screen than it does in real life. So let me tell you what happened. I wore this dress to a camping event this year, and I decided it was so dirty after that I was gonna wash it instead of dry cleaning. I was like, I can just wash it by hand in the regular, like in the bathtub, like where I wash my by hand stuff. This dress is made of Dupioni silk, which you can wash, but I didn't pre-wash. It's lined in black linen and there's black cotton velvet on it. What happened was when I washed it, somehow the linen, all the black bled into the red. So this used to be like this color red and now it's very dark. It's fine, dark, right? Like it's still a beautiful dress, but it's not the dress, like the one from this painting that it was my dream dress and I need to have this dress. Perfect. I made this dress long before I was filming my progress, back when I was really functioning off of commissions as a business, and I was doing a lot of historic stuff just for hobby, and now they're kind of like melded together in this new way where it would be super cool to show you guys how I made this dress. And just so happens I'm gonna have to do that because I need to remake this dress. It can be very hard to let go of something that you've invested a lot of time into, and this is sort of a metaphor for everything that's happening in my life right now, okay? This is not just like remaking a simple dress. I put a ton of work into this thing. Not just the patterning and the drafting, but like so much of this dress is hand sewn, and I spent ages making this dress perfect. Now the good news is that not all the pieces of the dress were washed. Like the hat is fine, even the little insert for the front is fine, like a lot of it is fine, all the accessories are fine, it's just the dress, which is a daunting thing to remake. And for a while I really just did not want to remake it at all. Like I was just, no, I put so much effort into this that I don't want to redo that effort. It's exactly how I feel in a lot of my life. So it's coming out here in this dress. And now I get a chance to practice the art of letting go and letting something better exist. It just so happens that with this project, I get to determine what the better thing is because it's all me. And that's pretty freaking cool. So good news is that I have this dress here. So I have this to look at and to see all the things I did, to see the things I learned, the things I figured out. So in that sense, it's not going to take me as long as it did the first time. I don't have to figure out how to make it. All I have to do is make it and put in the countless hours of hand stitching to get it done. And in redoing this dress, 8 years have passed. I could probably do some things to up level it. One thing I decided to do was, instead of the Dupioni, which I personally do like silk with some slubs in it, I do think this style of dress should be more like a silk taffeta. I decided to buy a silk taffeta to make my remake out of. And the inside, instead of lining in black linen, I'm lining it in red, the same color as the outside, but it's actually a like fake taffeta. It's like a silk rayon blend. So we've got the main fabric and the lining fabric, and that way the rayon fabric also takes washing very, very well. I did pre-wash the taffeta. Now that makes it a lot more droopy, like not as crisp, but this guy stays plenty crisp on washing. So I'm gonna line it in that, and then we'll keep the crispness. So it's actually gonna be crisper than this old dress, in fact. And that's an up level, is go ahead and line it in red, make it a little crisper. Other little things I'm gonna do is my hand stitching here around the waistline looks like it could be a little bit better. I mean, it's not bad, like the dress stays together and everything, but you probably can't see on the screen, but you can see a lot of the stitches because they're kind of like big, and having worn it several times, I've kind of pulled on them a bit. So I think I'm gonna do the skirt attachment just a little bit tighter stitching. That's just a little nitpick, right? We're looking for all the nitpicks so we can make this perfect. These little jewels that are on the sleeves, they're great, but we're gonna up level them. So I've got bigger and flashier jewels, and I now know to put a little gemstone in a bevel, so I'm gonna do that, and you'll see that when I get to there. So we'll have like fancier, flashier jewels on the sleeves. And I've been going back and forth on whether I want to hand stitch on all the stripes on the skirt like I did on this one, or whether I want to just like section cut the skirts with the stripes and like stitch them together by machine, which is what I normally would do, but it's kind of special to hand stitch it on, and why not do that with my dream dress? So all of these things that I can come up with, and I can keep coming up with them, and I will keep coming up with them as we go along the project, they're all little nitpicks. The main thing is that I am holding on to this because I put so much time into this. This is the sunken cost fallacy. Like, I have sunk a lot of cost into this. Not only do the fabrics cost money, the biggest cost was my time. Like, I put a lot of time into this. And just like with things in life, like with relationships that aren't working out, with endeavors that aren't working out, I put so much effort and time into them that I don't want to let them go. This dress is a perfect metaphor because as I go through and I start to look at what I can do to up level it in the next one and make it something that I love even more, I start to realize that if I let this go, all of that time is not necessarily wasted. It's just a part of my process, and I can put in that amount of time again and get something even better out of it because now I have more experience and I have a new perspective. And with that, not only on this dress, but also with my relationships and my other endeavors in life, I can take that experience and that new perspective to achieve something that is even better for me at the point that I'm at right now currently. Okay, so maybe this is right now just a video about getting moving. So I've made myself a second cup of coffee. The first one I had before I took the cat for a walk this morning. and I am going to get moving. All right, so here's the plan. Here's where we're at right now. Last night, well, it was the middle of the night because I seem to, excuse me, madam. It seems lately I'm having trouble getting to sleep at night. Anyways, I got my skirt panels cut / torn out of the fabric. So I love when it's a fabric I can just snip and rip. What would you like, madam? What is it? What is it? You want pets? Okay. So I got all those skirt panels cut from the silk and also the rayon silk lining. What I can do is I can work on those or I can work on the bodice. So it doesn't really matter which one I pick as long as I get moving. Or I can just snuggle with the cat. Always a good idea. I've been spending a lot of time just preparing pieces to go on to some of the steps to make this dress. I've cut out all of my bodice pieces using the pattern that I already had from the last time I made this dress because everything fits just fine. I know I can just reuse the pattern. And let me tell you, figuring out those sleeves was a crazy thing when I drafted that pattern 8 years ago. So honestly, that saves a lot of time having that pattern already figured out. Now on the skirt, I created all those stripes by applying velvet pieces, and I'm going to do that again. So last time I had a nice cotton velvet that irons really nicely. This time I have a micro velvet. It's actually poly, so it's like fake silk, and it does have kind of some of the properties and drape of silk velvet, which I think is going to look really lovely. However, it's not the easiest to work with. That's okay though, because this is a dream gown and it's worth it. And I'm worth it and you're worth it too. Anyway, so I cut pieces. I actually cut and ripped because I could rip the fabric. And then I sewed them together. So there's 3 pieces sewn together in each stripe. I cut them each to be 5 inches. So they're actually going to be 4-inch stripes, but then I've left a 1/2 inch at each side to fold over. And I serged all the edges because I don't know if y'all have worked with velvet before, but it frays like freaking crazy and it gets little dots of velvet everywhere. So yes, serge the edges. Don't get dots of velvet all over the house. Check. Now what I'm going to do is I've laid out my skirt on a hard floor. This has to be a hard surface. Definitely don't give yourself the pain of trying it on carpet like I thought I could do because I know better, but I was like, nah, I'm just going to do it, no. Put it on the hard floor. So I'm measuring up from the bottom of the skirt where I need the stripes to be placed, and I'm going to use this little water-soluble marking pencil, and I'm going to use my yardstick to draw out lines on the fabric, and those lines are going to be a guide for placing the stripes. I'm going to be working on this for a long time, like at least all week. So what I'm going to do is show you how I'm getting started on the first one, and then it's just a repeat process for all the stripes. So probably you get the hint after one. Yeah, it takes a long time because I want to hand sew these on, and that is my choice because I'm feeling a little crazy right now. No, it's actually my choice because I think it's going to make it look the best. And that is my opinion for my project. Hi Zoe, you gonna help me? Zoe's more of a passive watcher, so she'll be okay. Butterscotch is the one you gotta watch out for, and she's actually running around in the yard right now, so I think our fabric will be safe with Zoe's supervision. So I started sewing on the stripe by hand, and I realized, one, it's going to take forever, and two, it's not really better looking than machine sewing. So the way these stripes are, I do need to sew part of them by hand, but what I decided to do instead is to sew them on by machine on one side. So this is going to be the top side of the stripe, and then I'm going to fold it over, and then I'm going to fold under the bottom edge and hand sew that edge. So that way I only have to hand sew half of all these long seams, so I think it'll go a heck of a lot faster. I have completed the skirt. So we have 5 stripes going, which will be like up and down. You know, they're horizontal stripes. Yes, baby. Did I take your bed? Butterscotch has been laying on this skirt. She really likes it. So each of the stripes I sewed down one side by machine, folded it over, and hand stitched the other side down. And I think they look amazing. So after I did that, I lined the whole skirt with this taffeta, which is like a rayon blend. And for that one, so that'll keep the skirt a little bit crisp, because I did wash the silk taffeta and it's not crisp like it was, but this stuff you can wash and it stays crisp. So to do that, I just put it right sides together and sewed all the way around, like the front opening edges and the bottom. So I left the waist portion unsewn, and then I turned it right side out. So this is the front edge here. This is the corner, like the front to the bottom, and it's just fully lined. So that is ready to go on to the bodice, which I have to make. So for the bodice, I have cut out 4 layers. So this is going to be the back side. So it is that rayon blend taffeta with canvas, like cotton canvas duck cloth. And I have sewn the shoulder seams. For the fashion fabric, it is my washed silk taffeta and also a layer of that blend taffeta on the back. And the reason I sewed the shoulder seams first is because I want to do it like the original dress was. And I noticed that on that one I have a seam at the center back for these stripes. So the next part I'm going to do is the stripes before I completely prep and finish the bodice. So I clearly need to cut those out. I mean, I could cut them maybe like one full piece around, but I think I'm going to need to put the seam in the back just for ease of cutting layout. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. I did get sick for several days. It wasn't that bad, like it was kind of a mild cold. There was one day where I was like totally out, so I did get behind a little bit. And what I've done is I planned out my dress for this event, 12th night, and I broke it down into like, yes, Kitty! I broke it down into different steps, and I put deadlines on groups of the steps. And I gave myself a deadline that is before 12th night, actually by like more than a week before. And that's because I like to take photos outdoors before I go to an event, just to make sure I get exactly what I want and then I can get more at the event. So I'm really happy that I've got all these deadlines with extra time to spare, because I've had to move things around since I've been not getting much done for the past few days. And that is good planning. Planning so that you get things done with time to spare and you have room to wiggle in case anything that's out of your control does happen. So scratch the idea of doing the stripes for the bodice first. I realize that it's going to make the end result better if I actually sew the bodice together first, because that way I will have the final edge, you know, after it's sewn together and folded over as a guide, and it'll just make the stripes a little bit more perfect. So I'm constructing the bodice. I've sewn on the front here. You can see better on the back side because it's in red thread. This is going to be a channel for boning at the front edge. It's about 10 inches, and I've sewn it wide enough that once I sew this together, it will still be wide enough for the boning. So I'm going to sew the front and back right sides together and then flip it right side out, and then I will in fact set up for drawing out the stripes. Alright, so we are moving along. I actually took my project with me to a family dinner for the holidays, and I sewed on this bodice stripe while I was there. Now, in order to properly sew on the second bodice stripe, I need to attach the sleeves first, and that's because if I sew on the bodice stripe as is, it's gonna go like into this seam. So if I attach the sleeve, then the bodice stripe can kind of like pass over the top of the sleeve, if that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, just keep watching and you'll see when I do it. And so this is currently on hold until the sleeves are done. So to get the sleeves, here's what I'm doing for the lower sleeves. I am going to apply these stripes onto the sleeves, and I'll kind of show you what I'm doing. So I've already done this one, and I will show you as I do the next one. I'm measuring out an equal distance to space the stripes on the top and on the bottom, and then measuring and applying them straight down. On both of the lower sleeves, I have completely sewn on the stripes. So like I was showing you, these are the strips of velvet folded under on each side and hand stitched down. I also have tons of triangles that are going to create the upper sleeves, and you'll see a little bit more of that as I put them together. I'm really, really proud, like from the 8 years ago dress, of figuring out how the triangles were like part of the pattern in the portrait dress. And so I definitely wanted to just reuse my pattern. So on each of the pieces, I took that strip of velvet and I basically did this like a straight grain binding, so bias binding but straight grain. So I sewed it down to the edge and then folded it under and hand tacked it onto the back. And I did a lot of this at a cosplayer craft party, woohoo! And then because there's so much, I did have to finish them at home. So I have 6 triangles per sleeve. So some of them are shaped like this that attach to the lower sleeve. Some of them are curved because they actually attach to the bodice and they need to fit into that arm side. So next I need to attach what's going to be that cuff to the bottom. So it's kind of a false cuff just on the exterior. So I can hand sew the whole thing, but because the machine is working out pretty well for me, I'm going to do this by machine and then fold it over, and then I'll be able to line it. And then once I do that, I can actually line the sleeves, assemble the sleeves, and move on. These sleeves take forever, not even gonna lie. I remembered about the original dress that these sleeves took forever, and that's one reason I didn't want to redo it. But here we are, we're moving along. At this point, I have the lower sleeves stitched together. So as you saw, I hand stitched down the velvet stripes and this cuff piece. After that, I sewed the sleeves into tubes as well as the lining, and then I attached the lining to the bottom, right sides together, and turned it. So what I've done next, as you saw, I prepared the upper sleeves, which are each 6 triangles, and they have the little like filigree gold pieces in the middle of each triangle. So the larger ones have 2 in between and the smaller ones have 1 in between. And at the very underarm, I do not have 1 in between, just for like ease of movement. So those are going to get sewn onto the top of the lower sleeves. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to sew them onto only the right side, and then I'm going to take the lining and fold it over and stitch it down so that it's like a nice finished seam. And then I'm going to do the same to the bodice, like attaching the top of the upper sleeves to the bodice. Now what's interesting about these upper sleeve pieces is that since there are 6 triangles, 3 have like, so if you look at the part that attaches to the sleeve, 3 have the wide part of the triangle and 3 have the small part. So you can't just go like 3 triangles and 3 triangles in half. You have to actually like measure where half is in order to divide them equally, like if you want to do halves of the sleeve. I'm going to divide those up, divide up where they belong on the sleeve, and match that up, and then gather them in so that they fit. And then I'll do the same thing for the bodice. This is like a ton of hand sewing, but I've got the whole freaking bodice sewn together. Oh my goodness. So with this done, I am going to put a little piece of boning right here. That's just to make that opening sturdy. It's not a supportive garment, it's just sturdifying it. So I can use plastic boning. I have a very like thick plastic boning that's kind of like a synthetic whalebone that I'm going to use. And then I get to attach the skirt. So then it will be a full dress, and I just need to put the lacing rings on the front so I can lace together, and then I have to make the petticoat. So a little bit left, but we are actually very close. The skirt is attached. So after messing with the pleats for a little while to try to decide exactly how I wanted to pleat the skirt on, I ended up doing this sort of like stacked style of pleat. So I was trying a couple different ways of doing the pleats, and this ended up to be just what I thought kind of draped the best. And what I didn't do last time was line up the stripes on the skirt with the bodice, and that's something that I thought I would want to do if I remade this dress ever, and so I did it. So the stripe on the skirt is wider than the stripe area on the bodice, so what I did was I did a little box pleat there so that it's the same width right there, and then I had a little extra here at the edge, so I did just a little pleat there. Okay, so here's the waistband area. And I did not serge the bodice part. I did serge the skirts because I was working with them for such a long time. I did not want to deal with all the fraying. I could have serged the bodice as well and leave it like this. I decided what I want to do is actually just cover it so it's all finished on the inside. I mean, I've been doing this like on the inside of the armholes. Like, I can finish off the waistband too. Like, let's just make this super high end. Okay, so I have this velvet ribbon that is going to be the right width, and I happen to already have it. I was using it to make German Renaissance collars, so I'm going to use that here because I've got it around. And what I'm going to do is basically just cover that over that and stitch it down so it becomes this nice little velvet bit with no raw ends, and it looks super high end. I am very, very excited because I have now assembled the main part of the dress, you guys. I have the skirt attached to the bodice. I have the sleeves fully attached, and it is amazing. So I'll get a little shot to show you just where it's at. The one thing I haven't done yet is put in the lacing cord. So I sewed in little lacing rings into the bodice, but I still need to just attach a cord, which is super quick and easy. And now I'm working on the petticoat. So I only had enough of the silk to go for the front panel, which is all that we're going to see anyway. The rest is underneath the skirt. So what I did before was I used a cheaper fabric for the rest of the petticoat, and likewise I'll be doing that this time. So I had some extra of this red that's like I think it's like a linen rayon blend maybe. So I'm using that for the back. So I have three rectangles that comprise the skirt. All three are the full width of the fabric. The one rectangle is the front panel, and that is the silk lined in the fake silk. And then the other two are, you know, around the back of the skirt. They're the cheaper fabric. What I am doing is I'm going to pleat all of this into a waistband and hem it, and then just add a skirt hook to the waistband. And after that, I just have to make a rectangle that's the little placket insert for the bodice. Instead of using a standard skirt hook, I decided to attach 2 more of these metal lacing rings like I used for the bodice. So to close the skirt, I will put a ribbon through those and tie them. This is something that I've used on a lot of skirts and various pieces wherever I can over the years because it allows for adjustment as you fluctuate in size. And another reason I've used it is like when I work with models, it allows garments to fit more than just one model. But for me, it's just like it'll adjust slightly in size, so I can make it slightly larger, slightly smaller, and it's totally cool. Oh, and I will be hand stitching the hem of this skirt, and then the skirt's done. It just needs a little ribbon through here to tie it, and then I just have the placket. All of the accessories in this look are the original ones from the original time I made this dress because they were not ruined. So luckily that beaded hat is good to go, as well as the beaded like headband piece that goes around it, and then the partlet as well as all the bling is still there ready to go. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me and Butterscotch as we slash I slash we. She's kind of a helper. Anyway, we had a great time making this dress, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Please find me on all the social medias as Daisy Viktoria. My website is daisyviktoria.com, and a special thank you to my patrons who help me so much to continue creating content. I hope you all have an absolutely magical day, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye!